You're listening to Binjang 91.5, and it's time for Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson. I'm your host, Tony Graham. Good afternoon, Matthew.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tony. Good to speak with you again. Unfortunately, can't see you with the separation we need to keep, but good to chat to you again.
Yeah, well, you can't win them all.
That's right.
The really big topic at the moment, and it's a real big issue, and we need to have as much help here as we possibly can get with technology, and that is this big problem of the coronavirus. Now, Netflix and YouTube have reduced the image quality in Europe to ease the pressure on the internet because of all the people who will be jumping onto it, staying at home, doing homeschooling, that sort of thing. So what's the go there, Matthew?
So obviously there are a lot of people who are working remotely now. Anyone that is in an organisation that makes it easy for people to work remotely, they're doing that, they're working remotely. There are obviously some kids coming home from school, university students, and with all this work that's happening remotely, that sounds fantastic, but it does put additional pressure on the internet. And so all that extra data that's being thrown around out on the internet there, it actually starts to slow it down and make it very difficult for people to work remotely. Now, we all know the biggest user of data on the internet is not people working remotely, but streaming. And so what Amazon has done with their Prime Video, what YouTube has done, what Netflix has done, what Disney Plus has done, they've all taken the same approach, which is a very sensible approach. They've reduced the quality of their programs, which normally would be something they would not like to do because they want their programs to be at the highest quality. But in this scenario, they've said for the good of the world, they've reduced the quality of their programming, specifically in Europe at this stage, but I suggest that this will happen across the world. And so that actually reduces the amount of data that needs to be used for streaming, and that therefore leaves more data available for people that are trying to work remotely. So it is a sensible approach from some large organisations that can have a huge impact on the world. And when we look at data usages and increases in data usage over the previous few years, we do often talk about it sort of anecdotally as the increase in data is the Netflix effect. And it's obviously not just referring to Netflix, but all of that streaming that's occurring now is increasing the amount of data that we're using quite dramatically.
Yes. Now, the discretionary dollar is fast disappearing out of the retail market, and with the coronavirus causing panic across the world, and I guess the smartphone sales collapse amid this pandemic is an illustration of what's going on here.
Yeah, that's right. And we are seeing the largest drop in smartphone sales ever. So since smartphones were introduced, there has been a growth trajectory. Now, there are times when sales might drop off a little bit. There might be things that happen around the world, or a new release of a phone mightn't be received as well as the manufacturer may have liked. But in general, we've seen pretty consistent growth over many years with smartphones, despite the fact that you think that just about everyone has got a smartphone. Not everyone has yet, of course, but there's certainly a huge percentage of people that have smartphones. And despite that, there's still been that consistent gradual growth and a few drop-offs along the way. But at the moment, with the combination of lack of manufacturing and obviously lack of confidence in the retail environment, as you mentioned at the beginning, then that's seen the largest drop in smartphone sales that we've ever seen. And we don't know, it's an uncertain future, Tony. We don't know how long that's going to continue for. We don't know when things will be back to normal, whatever normal will look like in the future. But this is certainly a major concern for the major manufacturers, obviously Apple and Samsung being those two major manufacturers.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, Matthew, but during any situation, including times of distress with people, you'll always get crooks out there wanting to exploit people, and we saw that yesterday with Centrelink suffering a DNS attack. But Facebook and Gumtree, they're waiting for users to report ads exploiting the coronavirus. They're concerned about this, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. And certainly what you've got is a situation where some people are buying out various stores of their supplies. We've obviously seen that with toilet paper, and there are other essential products that people are buying out. But some people might think they're doing that because they want to feel like they're safe going forward. But other people are doing it so they can try and make a quick buck. And so companies like Facebook and Gumtree are aware of that, and they're saying that if they see anyone, or if it's reported that anyone is actually just trying to profiteer or price gouge in terms of those products, they're going to shut down those particular sites. So if someone thinks they've had this great idea where they're going to buy up all the toilet paper that Coles and Woolies and IGA, everyone's got to offer, and then put it on Facebook at some ridiculously inflated prices, then they're going to get a bit of a rude shock when their account is actually shut down by Facebook. So again, good responsible use of technology from some of those large companies that can have a major impact across the world.
Yeah, I'll get brownie points for that.
Oh, we're really scraping the bottom now, aren't we?
Yeah, well, you know, in every dire situation, you still have to find a bit of humour. Now, this next topic
Indeed.
I think is quite amusing. With working from home, memes going viral during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, there is a classic here that you can point to, isn't there?
So people are working from home and they're starting to do some video conferencing, which I think is fantastic. And I know myself with some of the meetings that I've meant to have over the last week, then I've done some of those via teleconference, some via video conference. And I must admit, in the background, whenever I'm doing a video conference, I check what is in the background to make sure that the kids haven't left something laying around or there's some mess sitting behind there because it looks bad. But there was one particular example where this gentleman wasn't really aware of what people could see while the video conference was occurring. So in between him having a discussion or talking at the video conference, he was actually looking at some pornography on his computer. Unbeknownst to him, that screen that he was looking at was being shared with the entire video conference. So it was pretty quick for some of his colleagues to point out that maybe what he was doing, A, wasn't appropriate for the video conference, and B, if you're going to look at pornography during the video conference, be a little bit smarter about how you look at it so you can look at it without sharing it with everyone else on the actual video conference. So there's a bit of a learning curve there for people while they might be working from home for the first time.
I bet you they wouldn't catch you doing that, Matthew.
They wouldn't catch me doing that.
Yes. Well, it just goes to show there's always a bit of humour in the most dire of situations.
That's right. I'm surprised he's even got a job anymore. Obviously, he wasn't concentrating that hard on the video conference, but I think at the moment employers are cutting employees a little bit of slack, so he probably got away with that one.
Yes. Well, it just goes to show how committed he was to the conference. Must have been.
That's right.
He added some interest to it.
Yes, he was concentrating very hard on it.
Well, Matthew. On that note, I think we shall end the discussion on Tech Talk today with Mathew Dickerson on Binjang 91.5. Thank you very much, Matthew. And now it's back to the program.
Thanks, Tony. We'll chat again next week.